Ah, ah, ah. I'm off to a slow start for today, because I spent the last several hours reading and thinking about big tech and free software and learning to mastery and AI, thinking a lot about a lot of things, thinking about people and culture and expectations. Um, there's a lot of people on this planet. There's so many people. And sometimes I feel like I'm the only person that cares about privacy and decency and ownership and autonomy. But I know that that's a really impossible thing. I can't be the only person. There's a lot of people that care about those things. But they're hard to find maybe. I don't know where they're all hiding. Maybe they're hiding on the Fediverse. Um but yeah, it feels like nothing is happening and I'm being attacked at every angle all of the time. I was reading about I was reading about a billing issue that happened over at AWS a couple of days ago, where some people who use the AWS free tier or like really cheap tiers to run some projects in the cloud, whatever. I don't know. There's a lot of services that I'm not really aware of, but they received surprise billing emails and statements in like the millions of dollars. Some people billions of dollars, and a company even negative trillions, right? And clearly on the AWS support page, I should pull it up. Um, there was some message about it. Oh, here. AWS Cost Explorer bug shows customers $1 trillion billing like statements and stuff. Triggers panic. And I think so. Some people might say, oh, this is what you get when the big companies are vibe coding everything. And they looked at some current job listings for AWS, and they really emphasize looking for engineers who can set up AI agentic workflows so that more parts of their product offerings can be run by self-checking AI agents and whatever. So there's like a little bit of irony between those two things. Um, and I have that AI fatigue where I it's happened quite early for me. I got really sick and tired of the AI proponents, the AI bros, and you know them. You might be some of them. They're everywhere who no matter what the topic is about, if they detect even the slightest criticism or mention, they have to come in and say, well, you should just accept it. AI is the future. It's here to stay. Adopt it or get left behind. And AI good, actually. And AI really useful, actually. And all these things. And it gets so sick. I get sick and tired of hearing that stuff over and over. And I get it. On the other hand, there are also the AI detractors who they say like AI bad and all the things that they feel about that. Oh, it's bad for the environment. Oh, water. Oh, data centers, whatever. And honestly, I don't really get as sick and tired of hearing about that because like it doesn't bother me. It's more that I don't know. There's nothing I can do about it, right? It's not up to me really. I'm not willing to become an activist uh, at this moment in time. But yeah, I spent some time this morning thinking and doing like very light investigating, perusing. I'm of the opinion that big tech companies are just out of control. The companies and the people who work there are out of control and they cannot be reined in. Their greed, their their lack of care for humanity knows no bounds. There's no such thing because for them, and I'm talking about even the engineers on the ground, all they care about is getting theirs, getting their money. They know that life is not infinite. So they will get theirs and screw everybody else. It doesn't matter. And this doesn't just go for Amazon, it goes for Google. I'm streaming on YouTube right now. They have their own, you know, deceptive practices. You could list them for days. You could go on for days. All of them, all of them. And anyway, so I was thinking this morning about like yeah. Why does it feel like no one cares that much? Does it just not matter? Am I too sensitive? And then I also think to myself, okay, well, if I don't like these, I think the internet running on AWS and Cloudflare especially are big problems. So how do you get away from that and what does that look like? And I started looking into some things about like home labs and stuff. And I do think there's a middle ground. I do think there's a middle ground. So at this point in time, I don't have it. I have too much debt. I don't have enough money. I also don't have enough interest, I think, to run my own home lab and host things myself on my very own hardware. Although I worry about that point of view because maybe I should be feeling some sense of desperation with the way the price of hardware has rapidly inclined. But then, there's a lot of debate in the air because the current level of LLM models and AIs and chatbots that are driving up hardware prices, um, they're trying to make things bigger and better, and they're trying to, rapidly also develop hardware to solve those computation needs. So there's this idea that maybe could it possibly happen that there will be some sort of insane breakthrough in technology, both on the side of, you know, artificial intelligence, but also on the side of the hardware, where you have newer, better models, maybe not LLMs, but other types of AI, maybe even the AGI or something like that. And then we also have, I don't know, there's like a whole lot of stuff that I don't understand. I don't understand much about with quantum computing and and um and others and transistor technology, whatever, right? I've read at different places that transistors are the smallest they've ever been and can ever be. But then there's, I don't know. I'm not a researcher. I'm not a scientist or professional, and I'm just not up to date with the latest cutting edge. But so if that were to happen, you would hope that those big tech companies and their AI and their corporate interests will move on to the new hardware systems and leave the old stuff for the rest of us, right? You would hope. But I don't know if I believe that myself anymore. But just like Sony and Microsoft and Xbox have increased the prices of their last gen consoles that have been out. I'm pretty sure Sony has raised the prices of the PlayStation 5 more than once. They've had price hikes. And then also we have Apple also increasing the prices on their already released hardware that has been selling at whatever prices, and now all of those got bumped up, $100-$200. I also saw an article about that I knew was coming, and I said this before. I said this to other people before in privacy, but nobody listens to me because I don't matter. um So they've started rolling out some iCloud price increases, right? And here's where I'm going with this. So I'm saying that at this moment, it feels like starting my own home lab would require more resources than what I currently have. Maybe not worth it, but at the same time, I don't know if the prices will ever really go back down for like, I don't know if the market will dry up for consumer grade products to begin with. And then I said, okay, first it's the GPUs that are expensive. Then you have the subscription services that are all expensive, like, going up like Netflix and Disney Plus and whatever the heck people buy or whatever. And then I said, okay, but if that happens to that, what about storage? What about like there's trickle down effects? All of the tech tools that people use. So I'm worried that the cost to rent a VPS will increase dramatically. That's what I'm worried about. Yep. I don't even really know what a VPS is. I don't know enough about um I don't know enough about computers, right? I was gonna say the cloud, but right, the cloud is just that other guy's computer. So yeah, I don't know enough about computers, especially from um administrative level. Like I if I wanted to if I wanted to host my own website on my own hardware, I don't really know how to do that. Yeah. But so I spent some of the morning reading about these things and looking for, alternatives because I think doing it all yourself is the other extreme, but I think there's room in the middle. There's room in the middle for small tech where you don't have to do it all yourself. You buy from some guy, at a small business. But the problem with that model is oftentimes the small businesses they're just a middleman between the big tech. A lot of them are renting their own things from big tech and then reselling at a higher price. So I don't know. I don't think I have an answer. I don't know. I felt a certain amount of anxiety about this yesterday. It feels like with with the digital ID laws, save the children laws, threats of banning VPNs, the news of, Mulvad's co-founder, funding some politician or whatever. And honestly, I don't think it really matters who the politician is, although that's really what people are upset about. The idea that their subscription dollars are going directly into the pockets of some fascist, potentially fascist, authoritarian style leader, kind of defeating the purpose of the mission that Mulvad purports to be about, but it just shows that humans are innately corruptible. Money and power changes things. It's the only guarantee in life is change. And, never trust any company. There are just no good companies. There are none. I don't think so. And then I read an article yesterday, not the whole thing, but part of it, kind of going against that idea. It was by Paul Graham, one of the Y Combinator founder fellows, and he was yapping about how, well, a lot of people think it's impossible to become a billionaire. Well, first of all, I'm a billionaire, and also I run a startup fund that's created, dozens of billionaires. So it's totally possible, even though it's difficult. And there's this belief that, the commies and the socialists want to tell you that no one can become a billionaire without doing something horrible or being evil. But I'm living proof that that's not true. And all these companies that I helped is also true. And then he used examples like Airbnb and Twitch and Uber to back himself up with his belief that, like, with his not belief, his argument that one does not like, one, that it's not impossible to become a billionaire, and number two, that it's not impossible to become a billionaire without exploiting people. But I feel like the examples that he used are really terrible examples, because he talks about how it's all about growth, right? It's all about the rate of growth and users. Oh, do the technologists love that term? They love the term users. Oh, our product users that we squeeze every nickel and dime out of, right? The companies are the ones that are using the users. But anyway, he's like, all you gotta do is get with your buddy and think about, something valuable that people want. And then when you create something that people want, as long as it's a good service, they're gonna tell their friends, and their friends will tell their friends, and then you have network effects. And he explains logarithm and exponents and all this, and I'm just like, okay, buddy. Okay, buddy, okay, guy. You're ignoring the elephant in the room, right? Nobody is denying that people like convenience, or people like having their problems solved. Obviously. Like, obviously that's true. There's a lot of things that individuals want to do, and sometimes they need some service or some product to be able to do what they want to do. That's great. Then you have a deal. The issue, though, with the model, especially the model that he's talking about, is that it's not so simple. They often create great products, in air quotes, often piggybacking on existing technologies or existing structures or ideas, and then tweaking them to make them a little bit more convenient, to give the users a little bit more control or better prices, right? What if we reinvent hotels? Listen, listen, listen. But instead of having to have the money to create a whole hotel, you just like turn one of your extra bedrooms into the hotel. Right? No, hear me out, hear me out, hear me out. And then you make it really cheap so that people will pay you, a little bit of money, and they could sleep in that extra room that you have, right? That's a great idea. But the problem is not how it starts. The problem is where it goes and how it ends. And how over time, Airbnb has seen a litany of issues with like creepy landlords that have cameras and all kinds of devices all over the Airbnb, or having like, rules and expectations, because on the one hand they're like, um we're not some big hotel, okay? We don't have cleaners. We can't afford to keep this place clean. So we need our guests to do some of the cleaning, okay? But then on top of that, they start adding fees. So then they give you a list of chores. Here's a list of chores you have to do. Oh, by the way, we also charge a fee for cleaning. But if the guests are doing the cleaning, wait, make it make sense, right? And then the next thing you know, like at first the concept is like, oh yeah, we do the Airbnb and it's cheaper than getting a hotel. But then Airbnb start doing the dynamic pricing that all the other all the bigger companies start to do, and they increase their prices together. And it further fuels this demand for real estate for people not to live in, but to sell to other people, to rent out. And then there's people who are homeless, and it affects the prices of housing. It also affects the prices of just regular rent, right? Because if all the little places are getting bought up left and right, and there's nowhere to live, the landowners that already have places have more power. They can increase the cost. Anyway. That was a real tangent, but um, I don't know. I don't know. Um, I know. Wait, I'll talk more after I finish this race. Oh, that was really tough. That was really tough. Oh, I was so close. I was so close. I was so close. I made some mistakes. No, it's not fair. I gotta do it again. I make too many mistakes. My accuracy is too low. Meow. Still a little bit slow today. Still a little bit slow. But anyway. I'm still having a hard time. Still feeling pretty miserable. What I was thinking about before though is like, okay, whatever. Let's say the techno overlords, they were here first and they made rules and they designed things to suit them. That's fine. I have no interest in like combating them directly or something like that. And then whatever. But in this great big world, is there room for something else? Is there room for something different? And I think the answer is yes. Yep. I know that's upsetting. It's upsetting to the ones who want to gatekeep. And I think you can gatekeep your hobbies. But can you I shouldn't give them any ideas. Can you gatekeep knowledge? I guess so. Gatekeeping knowledge and information is the next step. But before it's too late, while information is still freely available, let's take advantage of it and try to learn a little bit. So that's what we're gonna do. And then yesterday I stopped, I think it was in lists. Yeah, I stopped in one of these, palindrome. And then after I got off stream, I kept it open and I worked on this solution. So before I had this part for I in range 0 length of S, if S at index I is equal to S at I plus 1 negative, the opposite. But I didn't have a variable to store the state of the Boolean. So what was happening, actually, let's just do it. Let's do it again. I mentioned it quietly, and then I tried to move, and then I don't know, whatever. Brain, no work. Ha 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 ha. Meow, 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 meow. So let's use race car as an example. There's 7 letters in race car. For I in range 0 to 7, so 0 stopping before 7, if race car, let's say race car's S, at index 0 is equal to the last -1, right? So we need S of I, and we want the opposite of I plus 1. If the first letter and the last letter are the same, I wanted to do return true. But I forgot how return works, so that's a problem. Otherwise, I wanted to return false. That was yesterday's issue. And what ends up happening is that it doesn't, because return and return terminates the like the program. Like it stops reading things and then it just ends. So what ended up happening is that it actually works for the first two cases because it tells me that race car begins with an R and ends with an R, and then it's true, and then it's over. And it tells me Ferrari begins with an F and ends with an I, so it's not a palindrome, which is correct. But then for is palindrome, it kind of breaks because it begins with an F and ends with an F. So it returns true, but foolproof isn't actually a palindrome. It's not going through the whole, it's not doing the loop. It's just beginning the loop. So then I was thinking to myself, oh, how do I keep looping over something? Okay, continue. Right? So, but at the end of the check, what ends up happening is a problem, right? So it's gonna continue and continue and continue and continue. But then it's like, let's run it and see what happens. Yeah, we get an error. In line 6, oh wait, that's something else. If we put else, I'm pretty sure it'll still be an error. Yeah. Running is palindrome. Error is palindrome. Race car has the wrong type. None. Expected a boolean. So it like, yeah, it doesn't like, it doesn't ever return anything. And that's even just for the first one. So I knew that was a problem. So then I was thinking like, okay, what do I need to return? I need to return a Boolean value, true or false. But what if I stored that in a variable and the variable updates for each check? So as it checks each letter, right? As it checks each letter, if the first letter and the last letter are the same, we have some variable that I called meow. We set it to true. And then we continue. If the second letter and the second to last letter are the same, then meow equals true and continue. And that process will keep going. Now, I wonder, let's try this first. I actually, what if we do meow equals false like this? Return. I think either way, we still need to we still 1, 2, 3. Let me think about this. If R is equal to R, meow is true, continue, and then it goes all the way. to E. This might work. It doesn't work. That's the wrong value, true. And I used this one as well to see what was happening. Let's see why. Step 1 of 1. Oh wait, I need to edit the code. Is palindrome foolproof? We can visualize it, see what's happening. So, I pressed the wrong button. S is foolproof at index 0. Meow is true. At index 1, meow is true. In index 2, meow is true. Zero, 1, 2. 3 is where it should be false. So when I is 3, S, foolproof at index 3, 0, 1, 2, 3 is L, and foolproof at index -4, -1, -2, -3, -4 is R. L is not equal to R, so let's see what happens. Meow is false. Oh. Okay. What if we copy this slide and we do, oops, we do one in here. And one out here. That actually might work. Because then if any of them is false, it just ends. So 3 is false. Return false. It's over. Okay, let's try doing that. Return meow. Okay, so this is the same thing as this, but I don't know. I don't know. I was confused, so I used Aleph, but it means the same thing. It means the same thing. Instead of breaking. Now, which one is cleaner? I don't know. I kind of like yesterday's solution a little bit better because it's easier for me to understand. But they both work. They both work. I also like yesterday's better because in it I only return meow once, and in this one I technically have it written twice, but they're both the same number of lines. But yeah. Or I guess I could do else meow false break. Let's do that. And that still works. Yeah, I think this is the best of both worlds, actually. So taking out the elif and just using else, and then doing a break so that we only return meow once. Yeah, I like this solution. Okay, moving on to the next. I forgot to keep track of time. Max and sum. The function max, which we saw before, can also be applied to a list of numbers. It returns the largest number in the list. Likewise, the function sum of L returns the sum of the elements in list L. So we have an example, list 310490, print sum of list, print max of list, and we should get we should get some number. 7 plus 19 is 26. And the max should be 10. Okay, that's what we got. Define a function prod L, which returns the product of the elements in this L. Define prod L. Meow, 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 meow. Um. For in range 0 length L meow 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 meow. I'm gonna take L at some index, the items, the elements. Product equals if we have product is 1 and we take the first element multiplied by 1 is the product, and then the second element times the product, and then the third element. I think this works. I don't know. Let's try it. It works! Yay! It works! Yay! It works! Okay. Its value 24 is correct. Its value 16 is correct. Its value. Oh, very nice, very nice. Looping through lists. It is very common, like in the previous exercise, to loop through every value in a list. Python allows a shortcut to perform this type of operation, usually called a for all loop or for each loop. Specifically, when L is a list, this code for X in L. Oh, I'm so stupid. I don't have to do the range. I could just do in L. Shit. I knew that. Does the following first. Does the following. First, X is set to the first value in L, and then the body is executed. Then X is set to the second value in L, and the body is executed. This is continued for all items in L. Here's a visualized example of printing out elements in this. Message, SOS. For X in message print X, there we get Yeah, the first one, and then the second one, and then the third one. Define the function prod L as before, this time using the new kind of loop. Okay, define prod L for I in L set. Product is equal to I ha ha ha, it works, yay, without crashing, yay. For all loops work for strings too. Try for char in hello. I forgot I could do this. I should have known. I've done this before, but whatever. This is what happens. Whatever. You gotta like, oops, print car, print car, meow. What is the value of x, which will cause mystery x to run forever? A is equal to a list with some numbers, while x is greater than 0. Oh man. While x is greater than 0, x is equal to a at some index x, return done. While x is 0, it'll return done. While x is 1, x equals 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, which is 2. While 2 is greater than 0, x is equal to 0, 1, 2, which is 0. We get done. While x is equal to 0, 1, 2, 3. Let's try with 3. While 1, 2, 3. While x is greater than or equal to 0 and x is 3, a at 3, a at index 3 is also 3, and it'll always be 3. Okay. A la mode. The mode of a list is the element which occurs most frequently, the one which appears the maximum number of times. Unscramble the following program so that mode L correctly finds the mode, assuming L is a list of numbers from 0 to 1. On our test, there won't be two numbers tied for maximum frequency. Unscramble the following code so that mode of L correctly finds the mode. So we're going to define it. First, And we have some loops, and we have some indenting. Probably gonna return I later. We're gonna set frequency earlier. Frequency is a list with 10 zeros. Um, 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 um. Let me think about this. If frequency at index I, is equal to the max of frequency, this sounds like it's gonna come later. For I in range 0 to 10, frequency at index I is equal to the frequency at index I plus 1. Um, hmm. Meow, 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 meow. Meow, 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 meow. Hmm. Hum, 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 hum. My brain hurts a little bit. So let's say we have list L, which is a list of numbers from 0 to 9. 0, 1, 2, 3, 3, 3, 6, 7. It doesn't say how long. So I and L is 0, 1, 2, 3, 3, 3, 6, 7. I think it's this one. For I and L. And then we have frequency. This part is confusing me. Does it have to be 10 numbers? Okay. Frequency. This doesn't make sense. It should go here. My brain hurts. What happens if I do this? Frequency at 0 is the frequency at 0 plus 1, which is 0 plus 1. It's just a bunch of ones. Frequency 1 at index 1 is just 0 because we made them all zeros. Frequency I let me think about this slowly. So the frequency, we change 0. Oh, my brain hurts. We change 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Zero becomes 1. At frequency 1, still 0. It's just 1. Yeah, it's just all to ones. Doesn't make much sense. If if frequency at some index equals max frequency, return I. I don't get it. I don't get it, I don't get it, I don't get it, I don't get it. Eh? for I in L, for I in L, if frequency I, so let's say 0, and 0, frequency at index 0 is 1. If 1 is equal to max frequency. My brain hurts. Do I have these backwards, maybe? For I now 0, frequency at index 0 is equal to 0 plus 1, which is 1. For I now, when I is 1, frequency at index 1 is also 0. Oh, I get it. So that's 1. And then 2 is also 0, so that's 1. And 3 is also 0, so that's 1. But then 3 for the next 3 in L, frequency at 3 is equal to the frequency at 3 plus 1, which is already 1, so it becomes 2. But it actually becomes 2. It's not a new one, it just becomes 2 here. And then again, it would become 3. And then for 6, frequency at index 6 is 0 plus 1. Frequency at index 7 is 0 plus 1 is 1. Okay. And then for I in the range 0 to 10, if frequency at 0 is equal to max frequency, return I. Meow, meow, meow. Meow, 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 meow. Okay, I'm happy with this. I think this is the program. It is. It's a program, and so the stream is over. I'm sorry that I'm really dumb. I had to think about that a lot. Because I wasn't writing it out. But yeah, it's I don't know. So I feel like the indentation, and like some of it's indentation, some of it's logic. I knew that they had to establish frequency first. I don't know why they chose 10 zeros, but I'm running with it. Fine. Okay? Whatever. I wouldn't have thought to do it this way. I didn't know that I had to do it this way. Let me think about this. Did it have to be 10 zeros, or could they just do an empty list? Would it return an error? I guess it would return an error, right? Because, alright, I don't know. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So they tested it on a list longer than 10 and a list shorter than 10. So I'm a little bit confused about this whole 10 zeros thing. Like what the point of that was. Could they just made it an empty list? Couldn't it have just been an empty list? Or would it not append? Wait, let me think about it. Or would it give an error, like an index error, saying, oh, that doesn't exist? Maybe. Maybe it would give an index error. Yeah, probably. Anyway, I'm done for today. Goodbye. See you tomorrow. This is over. I'm done yapping. It's over. I'll do methods tomorrow, I think.